Lesson 12 Beach Sunset. In this lesson we will paint a sunset seascape. The idea was taken from an original painting by Leonid Afremov. Afremov Lonely Evening Sea. We will start as always with a pencil drawing. We will use the drawing as an outline for guidance. We will mark our distances, we will create depth and a vanishing point. We draw gently without pressing the pencil hard on the canvas. The horizon splits our color areas, which will eventually form clouds. In particular, this beach has a very particular spot of blue, trapped between a completely warm sky and quite warm colors. It's very contrasting. So, we are going to need to constantly remember to use the chromatic wheel. We need to watch that our warm and cold colors do not mix. We are always aiming for a clean result. This way we will avoid greenish colors in the sky, which we will consider as dirty color. We start with the horizon. We use a mix of dark yellow and a tiny touch of orange to darken the color. Let's remember not to mix too much. A large part of the success of the technique is mixing colors on the canvas itself. We barely mix colors on the palette board. We only use the palette board to grab the color and apply it to the canvas. We apply strokes just above the horizon line we draw. We take the color and blend it precisely on the canvas. We can outline the area where we will place the sun, perhaps with our own finger and a little paint. We leave the sun area much clearer than the rest. Much more yellow. Now we know where we have the sun. We take light yellow and apply it just in this area. We work from inside out. We move from lighter colors to the darker and from colder ones to warmer. After applying strokes to the area of the sun, we can continue with the mixture of yellow and orange. We finish enclosing the area of the sun and delimiting our horizon. It is important to mention and remember that whenever we are painting the background, we apply pressure on the canvas, trying to cover white spaces. We integrate our colors and tones very well. As well as remembering that we must constantly clean our palette knife with a piece of toilet paper. We take orange and apply it to the canvas, integrating with the mixture we already have. Surrounding the yellow that we already have painted as a background. We use pressure and horizontal movements, managing to integrate both tones well. This yellow area will be the lightest, representing the sun. Now, we can start painting the right area along the same line, starting with the transition to warm darks. Using the color wheel in parts, orange, red. So that our contrast is not so strong and drastic. We do it respecting each part of the chromatic wheel. Followed by red and carmine. We paint integrating orange and red. We apply pressure on the canvas with horizontal movements. Push in the palette knife to cover easily needed spaces and do not leave blank spaces. We go towards the top of the canvas, right where the yellow ends. We are going to continue applying red and carmine. We let the chromatic circle become present. This way we are able to begin the transition to colder colors. We frequently clean the palette knife after working on the canvas. We take carmine, violet and a touch of white. We create a slightly lighter tone than what we already had. This is done to be able to include blue in a subtle way in our transition. Just above the carmine red, we apply the strokes. And we clean the palette knife. After the light violet carmine, we fill the background with only violet, without white. We do it to darken the entire area adjacent to the blue. We create a quite contrasting cloud. Next, we apply cerulean blue, integrating it with the violet. At this point we can brighten our background with a touch of white. So we take cerulean blue again with a considered touch of white. We apply it to the canvas and finish integrating it with the other colors. We always respect the space of each color, we just join it. We clean our palette knife and continue with white. We apply it just over the blue and integrate, clarifying the tone. Closing spaces between colors, uniting and integrating, allowing each color to be in its space. Still going further up. We are going to take a considerable amount of cerulean blue with white and apply stroke extending up and to the left. Because on the right side right next to the blue we will paint with white, managing to fade the blue and start our transition again. We add a touch of ultramarine blue above the cerulean blue to expand our blue segment and give contrast to the background. We leave the entire upper area completely white, unpainted. We clean the palette knife and return to the previous mixture, carmine violet white. Thus beginning the transition to warm colors. In this way we will completely avoid mixing blue and yellow. The result can be green tones in the sky. We respect the chromatic circle and its order. Now we are creating the background, it is advisable to apply strokes without fear and with force. Since this is just the background, we are not detailing anything. We will paint the details with a small palette knife as soon as we are done with the background. We continue upwards and work on the area that is blank. We applying orange and yellow. Here is an example of how to solve small errors. We accidentally mixed a little blue with orange. What does that tell us? That we have skipped the carmine and violet in this area and as a result we apply the orange, turning it into a greenish tone. We solve it by adding more violet and we integrating it by eliminating any green tone that appears. Let's finish enclosing the blue cloud with warm tones. Adding yellow and white right next to the blue. Without mixing between them. We respect each color's space. We are only going to join both colors without mixing. We do not want the tone appear greener. We added dark yellow and orange to continue covering the area. Helping ourselves with our shoulder with the elbow above. We use horizontal movements. To finish the remaining part, we add red carmine violet. We integrate our colors all the time and make a uniform shape between them. This is how we finish anchoring the upper part of the canvas without skipping any color on the chromatic wheel. Now, we move to the bottom, below the horizon. We are going to apply strokes in the same way, following the order of the chromatic wheel. Remember to always clean the palette knife. We clean it every time we take colors from the palette board or after working on the canvas. We start in the central part, right where the vanishing point is created. The point is represented by the sun. We take dark yellow followed by light yellow, which will give us the brightness of the sun. We apply strokes downwards creating a vertical line of the same color. From this point, we are going to begin to open up with dark colors of the warm range. Towards the right side, we will open up a little more than towards the left side, as a matter of perspective based on our sky. We clean the palette knife and immediately take orange. We apply strokes with force and pressure on the canvas right after the yellow. Again, downwards creating a vertical line of the same color. We continue applying, now it is the turn of the red next to the orange. We place it always respecting the space of the adjacent color, only putting them together, we are going to blend them later. Respecting the color space that we already have on the canvas, creating a vertical line of red. If we need paint, we take more from our palette board and continue applying. We clean the palette knife. We take carmine, and in the same way we immediately apply strokes. We just join the colors together, creating our vertical line. We clean the palette knife without using too much paper, 2 squares are more than enough. Now, it's time to use violet. We take it from our palette board and immediately apply strokes next to the carmine. We leave a blank space to be able to place the ultramarine blue. We clean the palette knife and apply strokes with ultramarine blue next to the violet. We do it just until we join the colors, respecting the space of the violet. Once we have the right side of the bottom ready, we can continue with the left side. We take orange from the palette board and apply it on the canvas. We apply and create a vertical line right next to the yellow. Without integrating, just putting the colors together. We do the same with the red and carmine until we have completely covered the entire left side. We use a completely clean palette knife to remove all the excess of paint that remains on the sides of the canvas. This way we will avoid accidents later. Now, it's time to let the large palette knife rest. We take the small palette knife. We are going to begin carefully detail each corner of the canvas. Giving life and movement to clouds, reflections, contrasts, textures, and more. We will do it in an orderly manner and in parts. It is not advisable to paint anywhere without having finished one area and starting another. We start by bringing the sun to life and placing it just above the yellow that we agreed would be sunlight. Once the sun is located, it will be easier to start spotting it in a more detailed way. We apply white strokes just above and to the sides of the sun. We paint some flashes of the sun, which will help us to start giving contrast to the background we have created. We can begin to place with the tip of the palette knife some red clouds on the orange background that is below the sun and just above the horizon. We work with our elbow elevated and only reload the paint. Now we clean the palette knife and take light yellow. We only leave the paint below the red that we just placed. With a single movement back, we continue applying more red right next to the sun, forming a quite contrasting cloud. We do it very carefully in order to avoid damaging what we have already created. This allows us to create spaces of the same width of the palette knife, forming clouds, reflections, lights depending on the case. Interspersing light and dark colors with each other, giving contrast and texture. We clean the palette knife and move up, mixing red and carmine. We place the mixture just below the red that already exists in the background. As if it was a continuation of the red cloud, passing over the yellow with white. We continue mixing a little white and light yellow to highlight the area of light that we have right next to the sun. We use the same mixture of yellow and white that we still have on the palette knife. We can place one more stroke just above the red cloud created previously. This way we can create a reflection of the sun and at the same time outline the red cloud below. We take light yellow with a touch of white. We apply the color right next to the newly detailed cloud and integrate, letting them come together without mixing. We can use the color that we already have on the canvas, making horizontal movements with the palette knife and with a little pressure. We bring the color to the point where the red and yellow clouds meet. This way, we better integrate the colors and create texture. We clean the palette knife. We create a new mixture of carmine and violet again. It is important to mention that we cannot create the sky with clouds of any color. We must go darker respecting the order of the chromatic circle. Having said this, we place our mixture of carmine and violet in a very subtle way, with the tip of the palette knife, creating a very fine line above the yellow and white. Taking it to the outside of the right side, trying to look like it comes out of the dark colors of the side. We take more violet again and go over the line without applying pressure on the canvas. We are going to move forward so that no space is left unpainted. We take light yellow and apply it just above the horizon. Here our background is orange. Now, we begin to work on the dark areas of our background. Please take violet and leave it only recharged on the carmine background. Reviewing the line on several occasions, managing to integrate it with the carmine and make our cloud more natural. That seems to come out of the carmine. We clean and take white with light yellow to be able to place lights above our cloud. This way we will give depth to the clouds, making them more contrasted. We go over the stroke with the same mixture, being very subtle when sliding. We will only shape the cloud with the light that we are placing and retouching. To improve the shape of the cloud, we can detail and widen it with a few movements from the tip of the spatula. We go to the other end of the canvas with the palette knife loaded with yellow and touch up below the finished clouds. We are just giving texture and integrating each stroke even better. We go higher to begin to get darker with much more contrasting clouds. Placing violet above the mixture of carmine with white that delimits the transition from warm to cold. We continue upwards, so we clean the spatula and take orange, and right after the violet we draw an orange cloud, allowing it to mix with the carmine that we have in the background. As a result we will obtain a light brown tone which we will simply let it be. Below this cloud we have yellow as a background, so we are going to add light with a touch of light yellow and a little white. We continue in an upward direction, giving light to the darkest area. For that we are going to take orange from our palette, just a little that allows us to place light on the carmine on the far right. Now we begin to detail the cerulean blue area that we have as a background, integrating strokes that simulate clouds quite contrasted with ultramarine blue. Just above this, we are going to place a small light background in white, detailing the line subtly, lengthening it, and simulating flashes of light that impact the clouds. We continue detailing, going higher, placing more strokes in white, lengthening those blue clouds that border the violet. We took cerulean blue and placed it right in the blue area of the background. The result is more texture and movement from that very clear area of sky, which will help us integrate more clouds on the left side, much more contrasting and ultramarine blue. Taking them from the left side towards the center of the area, integrating with the cerulean blue that we have previously placed. We make short back and forth strokes. We spread the dark tone upwards with each stroke and beginning to darken the left side more. But with movement, using the external side of our small palette knife. Very good characteristic of ultramarine blue is that it is a fairly dark color, but it tends to mix easily with others. If we have created some strokes with this color, and it is necessary to give it light, with just a few strokes, touching other colors we can achieve it very easily. We must be very subtle with this color because it can disappear very quickly. Please remember to remove any excess material accumulated on the edges of the canvas with the help of the clean palette knife. We touched up the clouds once again with ultramarine blue, delicately without pressure, just reloading the paint. The part of clear sky and cerulean blue extends across the canvas, almost reaching the other side in one area. You eventually just give a few last strokes, leaving only the blue on top, this being more predominant over the violet. We clean the palette knife and take dark yellow. We are going to place a flash of light coming out from behind all those clouds, just below our newly finished blue sky. We add a touch of light yellow with a touch of white to make it even brighter. Finally, we can detail the cloud again with violet with small movements of the palette knife. Managing to unite without mixing and simulating that the violet cloud is in front of the flash of light. Now, it is time to continue lengthening the sky that is clear and cerulean blue towards the extreme right. So, we took some cerulean blue. It is also necessary to contrast the dark tones, so we will add a stroke of ultramarine blue above the cerulean blue that we just finished. We clean the palette knife, touch up and integrate going downwards. Eventually we place part of the ultramarine blue over the cerulean blue without mixing, just on top, recharging the paint. We finish detailing that entire area in blue. It is so prominent in the sky, and now we can move on to the warm tones again. We mix a little light yellow with a touch of white and apply it in a short stroke just above the orange. We replicate the same stroke with the same mixture, we only add a touch of dark yellow and place it a little higher in the same way. We clean the palette knife and take carmine. We further accentuate the contrast of the background and place it below our second yellow stroke. We continue adding sparkles in the sky. We clean the palette knife and take a second stroke with the same yellow and white mixture, a little higher, reaching the transition area again. We clean the palette knife and apply more strokes of light towards the white areas within the blue. Without pressure and without so much paint so as not to overdo it and not have to retouch. We do it as the only stroke and let it to be. We reach the last stage of sky. We are going to place a blue cloud over the yellow. We will recreate a gap between clouds. But for this we have to prepare the area where we will place this stroke. Now, we take violet and we are going to superimpose it on top of the yellow, allowing it to be, without mixing or using pressure. We are just preparing the area to place the blue without creating green colors in the sky. Now we can clean the palette knife. We take cerulean blue and we apply it on top of the violet, taking it towards the edge of the canvas, simulating a gap between the clouds, fading between them. We clean the palette knife and touch up the yellow underneath, integrating with the movement of the palette knife. Taking dark yellow from our palette board, placing this stroke just below the blue, accompanying with the diagonal movement. We return to our palette board and take light yellow and a touch of white, mix a little, and place it as a flash of light on the far left. We make small adjustments, we add carmine over the blue and yellow. We obtain more contrast between the shades. We return to working on the warm colors, taking a little orange from the palette board and adhering it to the canvas just above the orange red that we have at the top, almost reaching the edge. We recreate the movement with the palette knife, undulating the palette knife a little while we apply the paint. We clean the palette knife and take violet. We will apply it just above the violet of the background. We are going from the edge to the inside of the canvas. Now, we can apply red carmine over the violet. We work without applying any pressure. Since we want to recreate more of a reflection of the sun, coming from the orange that we had just before the red. This way we will obtain a homogeneous transition between clouds with the same shape. We recreate exactly the same procedure, yellow on orange, just below the one we just created. We take dark yellow from our palette board and apply it over the orange that we already have in the background. Without mixing, just accompanying the movement to contrast in a uniform way between reflections and clouds. Lastly, we take purple with a very minimal touch of white and apply it to the top left corner, giving lighting to the dark area and texture. This is a good example of how to detail each area of the canvas. It does not mean that because it's dark it should stay that way. There is always something to add or detail. Let's not forget the flashes of light that come from the sun above the yellow reflections. With a clean palette knife, we take white and apply two very thin lines. One about the sun and another coming from it. We work subtly without pressure. We can better integrate these strokes by making some cuts with the palette knife, making them look more subtle and much finer. We use a clean palette knife to remove all the excess paint that is accumulated on the edges of the canvas. Having finished the upper part of the canvas, which represents the sky, fully detailed, we can proceed to clearly delimit our horizon. We begin the detailing of the lower part which represents the water. The amount of paint we use in this detailing stage is actually minimal. We do not use excessive paint, even though it may seem like it. We really take a minimal amount of paint and spread it well. Where the tones can mix and textures are created. The texture is what makes it interesting after drying. To delimit our horizon, we start by taking a little dark yellow and a little orange, mix it and apply it right in the orange area that delimits the horizon, right where it connects to the red. We clean the palette knife and take red with a touch of carmine. We apply it right after the yellow with orange, creating a transition between both tones. It is very helpful to do it with the elbow elevated so that the horizontal stroke is almost perfect. This way, we will be creating that thin line that will serve as our horizon. Moving on to our bottom part, which represents water, we are going to start by integrating our colors with each other so that they simulate the movement of water. We make short horizontal movements without paint using a clean palette knife. Back and forth, in this way interspersing the colors with each other. We start with the carmine on the left side without going to the yellow. Just interacting with red and orange. Having finished this, we can move on to yellow, but not before cleaning the palette knife, of course. Then we do the same, but now starting from yellow towards orange, trying to ensure that they are united, interspersed with each other. We clean our palette knife and continue in the same way with the orange and red, creating small strokes that allow us to integrate the colors with the movement of the palette knife, obtaining texture and movement captured in the water. The movement we make with the palette knife is using the edge of the palette knife, both internal and external. When we make the going movement, the external edge is used, and when we make the return movement, we use the internal edge of the palette knife. One movement pushes paint and the other pulls paint. Always keeping our elbow raised to achieve perfect horizontal strokes. Thus we continue creating horizontal strokes, integrating the colors until we reach ultramarine blue. Now we can clean our palette knife and take red with a touch of carmine. We will take it right to the horizon line and we will apply it with a little pressure to ensure that it is well placed. We can reiterate the line on several occasions. Taking it to the other end where it coincides with the carmine that is already leaving our horizon. In this way we will have made the horizon. We retouch the line, integrating it naturally into the yellow background, making it appear blurred so that it gives us a feeling of distance. Now, we can start placing texture and reflections of the sky in the water. Working from left to right, starting with light colors such as yellow and orange. We take orange and apply it to the red area, starting from the top and going down with the same short strokes. We clean the palette knife, always remembering to keep our elbow elevated. We take light yellow and apply it just above the yellow that represents the reflection of the sun in the water. As if they were flashes of light. Gently, without pressure. These strokes are really short in the form of small horizontal lines. In the carmine area on the far left, we applied white with carmine, making those same short strokes, leaving the paint recharged, creating even more shine. We took only white, creating shine on the yellow and carmine, distributing strokes without any order. Without exaggerating, just handing out a few. We clean the palette knife and continue texturing the orange area after the yellow. We take orange and create the same shape, cut with strokes, descending while always applying strokes without pressure. We extend the orange paint to the red and then returning to the orange with red strokes. Creating a certain type of color exchange, creating contrast. With our elbow always elevated. We clean the palette knife again and now take a little bit of red to place it right on top of the orange. looking for red to be interspersed with orange. We clean the palette knife and taking a little light yellow. We apply it back to the center, where it is already yellow, and we place it creating more brightness just reaching the edge of the canvas. After we made this first layer of reflections, we can continue to our right. We place more strokes in orange, almost taking it to purple. Little by little opening the lighting on the water. It is time to start placing blue as a reflection on the violet and ultramarine blue. Practically over the dark area of the sea. We take cerulean blue with a little white. We make short strokes, distributing them downwards. Creating texture and contrast at the same time, without pressure and being subtle in each stroke. We always add the color that contrasts the background. We take some orange and white again and place it just reaching the edge of the canvas. On the carmine background. Also applying some strokes on the ultramarine blue. We finish this first layer of reflections and details and begin a second stage of details. This way, we achieve more texture and more illuminated reflections. We start from the horizon. We take red with a slight touch of white and slide small strokes over the horizon. We clean the palette knife and now we take white. We are going to place the white on the sides of the yellow, on top of the orange. Going over the yellow as well. Moving down. It is important to remember to clean the palette knife constantly every time we change colors to keep our colors clean. We take light yellow, and in the same way we place it with short strokes on the central yellow. Going down. Now, we take red with white and reinforce the reflections already placed on the orange with short strokes. Making reflections brighter. We take the opportunity to make the reflections we have just below the horizon thinner. Making them appear further away. Making cuts in the reflections with the edge of the palette knife. We place some more strokes with white in a very delicate and smooth way, just with the edge of the palette knife, almost creating very thin lines. We take advantage of the paint that we already have placed, creating thin lines. We accentuate the reflection of the sun more, taking dark yellow and mixing a little with orange. We place it by hitting it vertically with the palette knife, just below the horizon. We clean the palette knife and take light yellow and continue striking with the palette knife vertically and continue going down. Until you reach the bottom or edge of the canvas. We clean the palette knife and above the yellow, we place the same vertical strokes, but with white. From bottom to top and we continue rising until the white is lost among the yellow. To integrate these strokes, we create some cuts above them with the edge of the palette knife. We clean the palette knife and mix violet with orange to give life to the boat. Simulating the figure of the boat, using the tip and side of the palette knife in a gentle way, we recharge the paint simulating the silhouette of the boat. Retouching the figure repeatedly, perfecting the shape and cleaning our palette knife every time we touch the canvas. We take burnt umber and ultramarine blue and mixed. We add strokes on the figure of the boat, creating the shadow of the boat on the water. We clean the palette knife and take dark yellow, with which we will strike, recreating light that hits the hull of the boat. We wipe the palette knife again and take a little bit, just a little bit of orange and detailed the yellow light on the pot with a little line of orange over the top. In the same way, We do it on the shadow in the water, since it is a reflection and must have similarity. We add a few small strokes of the dark mixture next to the boat to give contrast. On the other side of the boat, we are going to give a little light, mixing light yellow with white, placing it right next to the boat and the shadow. This way the figure of the boat will make more sense. We take a little more of the dark mixture with shadow and ultramarine, and with the edge of the palette knife, starting from the bottom up, we create the mast of the boat. Reiterating the stroke from top to bottom, the upper part being thinner than the lower part being a little wider. We always try to create this in one time. We touch up the highlights on the jar with the tip of the palette knife and a little light yellow. We clean the palette knife and take white and a touch of orange to place a sail on the mast of the boat. Applying with the edge of the palette knife on the mast, sliding downwards, making the lower part of the sail wider, using the width of the palette knife as we slide. We touch up the line to integrate and with the completely clean palette knife. We create the mast tensioners, which start from the mast itself towards the boat. We always clean the palette knife after each stroke. We take a little of the dark mixture made for the boat and place the shadow of the mast just below the boat, sliding vertically down. Finally, we take white and create the division of the boat with the water, making a very fine line below the boat. We add a few strokes with the rest of the white that we have on the palette knife on the water. We clean the palette knife and take some white again and place a small flash of white on the boat. Finished.